everyone, welcome back to another full moon collective reading. As you guys probably already know, we're having a full moon today as well as a lunar eclipse, all happening in the sign of Scorpio. This actually marks the last lunar eclipse that's taking place in Scorpio. We had a few last year in 2022, I believe around May and October or November. So this full moon is kind of marking a grand finale of the eclipses that we've been experiencing in Scorpio. So if you want to go back, if you can remember, what were some themes that were coming up around those times, what you've been working on, it's a possibility that we're getting to the point where we can put a period at the end of that sentence and just close something out, change something for good, leave something behind, something that was no longer serving us. Maybe some of our shadow traits, some things that, are deeply ingrained, like deeply ingrained patterns that have maybe been really difficult to release. So eclipses happen with the nodes, so either the north node or the south node. The last solar eclipse in Aries was associated more with the north node. This particular lunar eclipse that we're having is associated with the south node this time. The nodes tend to be very karmic places. This is why it is said that, the events that happen around these times are karmic in nature. The word karmic doesn't only mean bad, it just means that they're fated because there's some energy here that just needs to play out. It needs to play itself out. So every decision we make, every action we take, this is energy. We're building momentum, we're cultivating something, and through these actions, we build karma. But karma can come from past lives, especially when it's associated with the south node, like this one in particular. The south node does point to the past and past lives. Whoa, there was an ambulance that just passed by my house. I saw all of the flashing lights, the sirens, thank God, are not on, but my whole house started flashing with the sirens. So like I was saying, it's a time for us to definitely just close something out, just release something, close a chapter or start a new one, just finally get things into place, get things in order. I feel like with this one now, we're going to be getting answers, things are going to be revealed. Whereas with the last solar eclipse that we had, it was more so a waiting game. Let's wait and see what happens. We don't have full picture yet. We might be feeling the nudges here and there, looking out for those, but nothing is for certain quite yet. Where I feel like now with this moon cycle that we're heading into, that I think will be over by the 17th of May, it's we're getting that clear picture, we're getting the information, we're seeing things clearly, we're getting that full picture image, things are coming out, it's kind of once you see something or once you hear something or once you know something, you can't unsee it, you can't unknow it. The genie cannot go back into the bottle. Something has been brought up, something has been unearthed, you've been made aware about something, it's very clear to you, it's something that it's, a toxic pattern, trait, something that's been very ingrained, something that comes from past lives potentially, something that may have been very difficult for you to let go of, something that you may have deeply identified with, something that you really had to dig deep, dig deep to resolve, something that may have been triggering or again associated with bad habits, self-sabotaging behaviors, addictions. And this is just our call to just once and for all finally remove this poison, or just be very, very hyper aware about it so that we can do what we have to do, take those steps that we have to take. Because as always, everything is a process. Nothing is going to happen overnight. However, this energy is known to be very unexpected, things very unexpected could come up. So whatever it is that you think, or, if you have plans or you think things are moving in a certain direction, it's very common for times like these for you to be mistaken and for information to come out that just drastically changes everything out of the blue. So of course that's not going to be everybody's experience, it's just a potential. So just see, like, how does this energy play out for you? Just stay open, stay curious. What's going on for you guys? I'd love to hear. I know most astrologers are correlating this time with, like, heavy times. It's difficult, uncomfortable, triggering. And I know a lot of my clients, just by the personals I've been doing, that energy has also been coming through. So I know it's kind of been maybe a topsy-turvy kind of a time for a lot of people. So if it's been a hard time for you, just know that you're not alone. I think I'm noticing a couple of the tarot cards here that came up for our last collective reading that we did, if I'm not mistaken. But I think I am seeing that here. Some repeating cards, so that's interesting. Just know, guys, that whatever it is that's happening right now, like I mentioned, it's fated. It's meant to be. Even if you don't like it, even if you want to resist it at first, just know that it's a blessing in disguise. It's meant to be. And if you can't see it yet, soon you will be able to see it. Also, another note I wanted to make was to be careful, like, about just deceitful kind of behavior also, because I think this energy could also be bringing up to the surface, like, people that feel like they might be losing control, or they really want to control outcomes here, be very, like, obsessive when it comes to getting their way, and therefore they'll do whatever they have to do to try to force that to happen. People that are kind of meeting this energy with some kind of resistance. So just stay alert about that as well. I think it's interesting that the coronation is happening around this time, especially because it's like kind of a known thing that, the royal families know about astrology and they get advised. And so, like, I don't think that this is a coincidence. They work with the moon cycles, and yeah, I just don't think anything is by accident. Just like I said, for example, the moon, we're working with the moon cycles. We're all affected by this, because we're all here on planet Earth. We're all influenced in some way or another, whether we know that or not. I think, like, there's more arrests or something like this, like something in the criminal justice system. It can, like, be notably measured around the full moons, and I know also in the hospitals. So, like, criminal justice systems or law enforcement and hospitals, the full moon has some kind of effect, and things just get a little bit more intensified. So this is a real energy, working with the moon phases. But everything is intention at the end of the day. It's like, what side of the fence are you on? What are you trying to give power to? Ultimately, like, are you working with the divine, with God, with benevolent energies? Or are you on the other side of that spectrum? So I think this is a really important time for you to be very aware, is all I'm saying, of people's intentions, who you're surrounding yourself with, what's really happening, what's really going on. And I guess to decide, to declare yourself, to decide, where do you stand? Like, what do you believe in? What do you uphold? So yeah, I'm super curious to know, how are you guys feeling personally? I'm feeling great. So, like, knock on wood that it stays that way, fingers crossed. Because I've been doing really amazing. So that's the other thing I wanted to mention, actually, one more point, and we'll get into the cards. That, yes, eclipses are very karmic. But again, people think karma and the word karmic means bad, means negative, and that's not always the case. So you could be, like, reaping some really good karma actually right now. Again, it depends on your actions and the decisions that you make that cultivate and create the karma that you eventually have to burn and, like, live out and work through. And there's different ways of burning karma, but that's a different topic for a different day. So yeah, it's very possible that you might not be experiencing a super hard, difficult time, and maybe you're actually reaping some really good karma. So for everyone, I think it's going to be different, but no matter what the experience is, just know that it's meant to be. Whatever it is that you're seeing right now, whatever it is that's being revealed to you right now, is what's meant to be. So let's not try to pretend like we're not seeing these signs, or ignore things, or try to change things, be in resistance. Let's be very present, aware, take the cues, take the signs that Spirit is giving to you. At the end of the day, they have a way bigger perspective and viewpoint than we do. Ours is very limited. They know what they're doing. So anytime that you're resisting something or wanting to control outcomes, the message that you're giving off is that you know more than the divine, that you know more than God, that you know more than Spirit. And that's just not the case. So getting into the cards for this full moon and lunar eclipse that's happening in Scorpio. So like I already touched on, I feel like a lot of the things that are coming up right now are past life things, or ancestral things, generational things, things that have been deeply ingrained within us, things that need to be unearthed, that needed to come up to the surface, that we needed to recognize, to break these chains, to change. This reminds me of a conversation I had with my friend where they were telling me that they noticed that a certain disorder runs in their family. And so they noticed how they too have those types of symptoms. And so it's just making them aware of something that was passed down to them from their ancestry, that now they need to learn how to regulate, so that they don't live a life not understanding certain things about themselves, or why certain things may be difficult for them, or why they can fall into certain patterns or loops. They were becoming aware, oh my gosh, this runs in my family. They unearthed something, and they're seeing how it's affected them and how it's influenced them. And now they want to get a hold on it, because they want to break that chain. They want to create that change in that family line, which is such a tall order. And I feel like so many of us are going through this in our own way. Spirit is definitely encouraging us to be the outlaw, to be basically the black sheep of the family, which if you're here watching this, you probably resonate with that, with that label. But Spirit is saying you're not in that position for no reason. You feel alone, you feel misunderstood, you feel like you see things differently than the people in your family, you have different outlooks, opinions, and you're that way for a reason. You're that way because you came here to cut certain things off, to end things, to cut the chains, to create a different type of karma for your bloodline, so that things don't continue, to get passed on, these harmful, destructive energies that can just be passed on throughout family dynamics, or just through tradition. It's no, you are the change. You're here to do something different, to be different, to become aware of these things. And becoming aware of these things, of these poisons, is not easy. It's hard work, So the fact that it falls on us, imagine the strength of your soul. If this is why you're here, if this is what you came to do, this is your mission, what you came to tackle is to see what isn't working, see what's lacking, see where there's flaws, where there are holes, and then be the change. Choose to do different. Choose to end this cycle once and for all. It's not a time to try to people please and try to appease, those around you. It's a time for you to definitely go your own way, to follow your intuition, to follow your gut, to follow that little voice that's leading you somewhere completely off path, uncharted territory, somewhere that it's brand new. You're the first one walking this path. If that's what it feels like, if it feels very uncertain and scary and like you're stepping into the unknown and you feel like you're losing some kind of security, like a sense of security. That's exactly what that energy feels like. And that's why we have to trust. That's where that trust in the divine comes in. To trust that, okay, I'm following this little voice. I got the signs. I received the messages. Everything is clear. Let me do what I have to do. And let me just trust that it's all going to fall into place. Let me be optimistic about this. Even though it seems like it's all falling apart right now, I know that this is a good thing. I know that this ending is a good thing. It's been difficult. It's been a grueling process. It's been painful. But ultimately, I know that I'm heading towards the right direction, that everything will work out because I'm not alone, because Spirit is with me and they're the ones guiding me. And Spirit loves me. Spirit only wants the best for me, so I trust. And as you're walking, this path that you have no idea where it's going to take you, where it's going to lead, just know that you're never walking it alone. Spirit is always right there, right next to you, with you. Which reminds me of that quote. It's a Jesus quote, actually, that says something like, Jesus, why is it that when times are hard, why is it that when I really need you the most, why is it that that's when you're not there? That's when I'm completely alone, left in the dark. This isn't an exact quote, it's just like the gist. But then Jesus says, when you looked and saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. So it's just a reminder that you are never alone. God is always with you. You just have to trust in your intuition, in what it is that is attracting you, that is calling to you. Trust in what you feel in your heart. Feel into that heart space. Heart is king, right? There's always like that dilemma, like, do I go with my logic? Do I go with what my mind is telling me? Or do I go with like my heart, my intuition? And of course, life is about a balance. We need both. You need to have a really strong intuition and trust it and follow it. Take your logic and your mind with you. There's nothing wrong with that. We need both. But when we're at a crossroads, right? Heart is king, your heart is king. That's the one that comes first, is your intuition, is your gut. And I feel like in this reading, the way it's going to be coming up for us is like through creative expression, creative ideas, and just through having fun, being lighthearted, being childlike, finding excitement and fun in the simplicity of it all, seeing how full life is already, how beautiful, just having so much to be happy about, to be joyous about. Like children, you see them playing, jumping, just having the time of their lives, laughing uncontrollably. And it's just like a regular old Tuesday, Or like they can find so much joy in the simple things. And we're being asked to like come back to the basics. I think I said this in the last reading as well, but it's coming up again. It's like take it all the way back. You like bring it all the way back. And I'm hearing that Logic song. What does it say? He's like, take it back, take it way, way back. I don't know, something like that. I haven't heard it in a long time, but it came to me just now. So I don't know, maybe something in there is significant, but yeah, that message again is like of taking it back, taking it way, way back. So I feel like we're being asked to take it back, like come back all the way back to like the basics, to the bare bones, to the foundation of something. It's like, what are we working for? Like, what do we like dedicate ourselves to? I feel like a lot of this has to do with what we consider to be like success. You know what I mean? Like the foundation that you create is a reflection of like your values, right? And I just feel like our values from our ancestors have changed. We're in different times. We don't need those same like values. Whereas maybe like our ancestors needed to be more focused on building like material wealth and stuff because they needed to create that foundation at that time. That's what was needed. But something has become outdated where now I feel like we've been taught to put so much importance, like all of importance, on materialism, on building up in the material world, that we lose that innocence, that purity, that connection to the divine, to spirit, because we become so hyper focused on building in the material world and associating those gains and those wins and those accomplishments with like the ultimate thing, like the ultimate thing you can possibly experience in this life. And we're totally disconnected from our soul, from our heart, from our intuition. We've been cut off. It's like our connection has been severed, but we're being led, like we're being guided to make this connection again, to connect with the earth, with these moon cycles, with the energy, to have that relationship with God, with spirit, to be able to see the signs, to communicate, have that direct connection, communication, relationship, and see that you don't even need much, change your perspective to see the beauty that is already here, that is already present, how full and whole and complete we already are. We don't need to strive anymore, to build in the material world. I'm not saying that we need to like completely bypass that and overlook that. Of course not. I'm just saying that we need a better foundation. Like we can't keep moving forward with this old foundation, with all of these old ingrained beliefs we have about life and how it works and what we're here to do and what we're here to accomplish. It's about taking it back to the basics, seeing the flaws of like the patterns that we're in or like the beliefs that we have, seeing the flaws and being able to shift perspectives, to go back to the basics, to make the changes that need to be made so that a new foundation can be formed, where it's like this foundation of trusting spirit, trusting the divine, following your intuition, truly connecting with God, so that you can kind of like create, like pioneer this new way, these new beliefs, these new philosophies, these new, practices. It's like we're ushering in a new energy. We're revolutionizing something in our bloodline, in our generational, ancestral bloodline. It's like it's not that we're writing it, we're just updating it because it needs it. It needs an update. Looks like we're the perfect ones to complete the mission. So it's like standing strong in that, like being okay with destroying and dismantling old, outdated, ingrained beliefs and patterns that we have, being okay with just shattering it, going all the way back to the basics, which can be very uncomfortable, to do something different, to do what it is that we're feeling called to do, to usher in whatever changes we're feeling called to bring in, to introduce. Like I said, it's a tall order. It's a tall order. And it's requiring so much of us. And that's why it's been so difficult for a lot of people, because it does require like a lot of trust. But once you can get through this part of the process, like this is the hardest part, it's like waking up to certain things, seeing the truth, unearthing things, seeing where changes need to be made, needing to dismantle certain structures to get to like the foundation of something, to change something from the core, from the roots, from the foundation, because it's what you're being called to do, even if it doesn't make sense to people. It's like standing strong in your mission, knowing that this is what you're here to do. This is your role. This is your purpose. Everyone always has their role. Everyone always has their purpose. So it's not like we're just going back and just completely just saying like, oh, ancestors, you had it all wrong. You did it all wrong. You messed us up for good. Look at this mess. Look what I have to clean up now. I used to look at it that way. And like literally right this second as I'm reading these cards for you, I'm realizing that no, it was absolutely needed. Like the ways that they were taught and the things that they passed down, it was what was needed in that time for survival, for us to even be here. And now what's needed is something else, is something different to move forward. Change is the only constant. We can't get attached to anything. Everything is always shifting and moving and changing. And once we feel those pulls, those urges, those nudges to evolve, that's what we're being called to, walk towards. This is our purpose. This is what we're here to do. Every circumstance, every situation that we're all finding ourselves in is all divine. It was all divinely orchestrated. Everyone in our family line had a purpose, the same way that we have a purpose, the same way that this is now our purpose. So it's not a matter of like right or wrong. It's just what is needed in this moment. That's why being present is so important. We need presence. We need trust. We need to be able to see harmful habits and patterns, addictions, to be able to point those out so that we can reinstate order, okay? So we can align ourselves to fulfill our purpose. And this is the role we're here to play for our ancestral line, so that it can continue to move forward and progress and evolve as it's meant to, so that it can, we can create like something different, something that's going to work better for the times that are coming. You know what I mean? It's just about like upgrading, renewing, updating something that's old, that's outdated, that's just keeping us stuck, stagnant. At one point it was useful, it's exactly what was needed, but not anymore. We're heading into different times now, where different perspectives and skills and beliefs and philosophies and ways of life and living and connecting is what's needed. We need to reestablish these things, And I'm not saying like we're the first ones to ever do it, of course not, but some of us have been completely, like I said, severed from it. And I feel like it's finding that reconnection to source, to your heart space, to your intuition, having such a strong connection to the divine that you trust in it and believe in it wholeheartedly, and believe that you're being led and guided as you are meant to, so that you can see the truth that your heart is king, not your mind, not your logic, your heart. And we're not afraid anymore of coming from that place of listening to those calls, to those pulls, and just trusting in them without the mind getting all up in the way, like, this doesn't make sense, blah, 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 like deterring you and like squashing and shutting down your little voice, your intuition, your heart, which is your soul, is your purpose. Okay, so I'm just gonna get a card, because the only card I didn't really touch on here is the sacred sexuality card, which is right there. And I'm not really quite sure how it's fitting into the picture, so I just need a little bit of clarification. See what Spirit wants me to discuss when it comes to that energy. So yeah, we got change. So sacred sexuality. So something here, Scorpio, it's a very sexual sign. I mean, literally, like, it's associated to the genitals and to sex. So yeah, maybe just some addiction, some bad habits, the way that we relate to sex, the way that we see sex, its function, how we have sex. All of these things need to change. Which is funny, because I was just also having that conversation with my friend. We were talking about like white tantra, and yeah, it's definitely a whole different way of having sex, and like maybe we need more of that. We need more elevated, higher, vibrations as it pertains to sex, especially like my generation. The way that we were exposed to sex it's so sad, you know what I mean? It's like just automatically just off to a bad start. So it's like a lot of years of just programming that we have to like rewire and practice how to, again, like view sex differently, have sex differently, because there are different ways to do it. it's a new topic. I don't really feel like comfortable like talking about it too much because like I don't know too much about it. I'm still learning, but it's definitely coming up here, and Spirit is saying that we need a change. Oh my gosh, look at this. Yeah, I guess the way that like we're relating to sex is just, it's not helpful. You know, maybe we're still kind of being consumed by our lower natures, which is a problem that both men and women need to face, need to work on, is being able to channel that passion more in a high vibrational way instead of like letting lust take over, like lusting and obsessing over sex, because again, we're attached to the materialism of things, so we're just attached to like the pleasure, so we seek it, we go after it, trying to like fill some need. But that's the thing, is you can never fill a need, an internal need, in the material world. Then it becomes an attachment, it becomes a trap. Whenever you feel a void, like you need to fill some kind of a need, you need to know that you can fill that need, you can fulfill it inside within yourself. You don't have to obsess over anything, attach yourself, to anything, chase anything, lust after anything, trying to satisfy that craving. That's that passion energy that we have, but it's being channeled in a low vibrational way. So I think sex is actually very important. I'm not saying don't go out and have sex or anything like that, but it's, I guess, we need something about that needs to change, about the way that we see it, perceive it, experience it, think the function of it is. Because at the end of the day, sexuality is very important. It's how we all came to this planet. It's how we all came to be. So it's nothing to be ashamed about. We are humans. We're going to have those urges, and it's not about like shutting that down. It's just being able to channel it in a higher vibrational way, in a way that you're more in control, alert, aware, and you're not being consumed by that passion energy, thinking that it's going to like satisfy you in some way, because as you know, it's temporary. Once you get your fix, it's only temporary. Then what happens? You need it again and again and again and again, and then you keep chasing something, you keep going after something, and that's just not the answer. It's never the answer. It's never going to be what satisfies you. So maybe Spirit is pointing to the fact that some of us are having unwise sexual like relationships or alliances because we're seeking something outside of ourselves, when where you should be seeking is within. You can satisfy this craving, this need for good, by looking within, by looking inside, by learning how to channel these energies differently, and by learning how to engage in sacred sexuality versus, the sex that we were introduced to as kids, which is so destructive and so corrupt. So yeah, it's time for a new way. Like Spirit is saying, it's time for a new way of doing things, of life, of moving forward, of making these things our new normal. Or like the children that are being born, like this is what they're being born into. These, where it's like they're not going to have to go through this part of like trying to learn this and undo all of this trauma and all of this pain, and like have to like, that's what we're here for. It's like we're trying to set some kind of groundwork here, some kind of a foundation for like our future generations. Like they're being born into this. So imagine what they're going to do, what their purpose is. So yeah, you guys, that's what I'm getting for this full moon and lunar eclipse. I hope these messages have served you. Just a quick reminder that I do offer personal readings. If you'd like to see what this full moon and lunar eclipse is bringing to you specifically, I would love to do that for you. I also offer other type of readings, so if you're interested, I will leave my information in the description box below. I would love to connect. I would love to work with you. Take good care of yourselves, you guys. It's very normal right now to be tired, to just have a little less energy than usual. So again, take those cues, listen to your body, practice that, practice just like feeling the energy, feeling the vibes, hearing spirit, seeing the signs, you know, feeling your body. What do you need? Everything is inside of you, okay? All of the answers are within. So it's about practicing, you know, awakening and practicing how to reconnect with that and being able to dismantle and to face whatever is in the way, whatever is preventing you from having and establishing that connection, and teaching, you know, the future generations the importance of this connection and maintaining and keeping this connection, and to find joy and happiness and abundance in the most simple of things, because that is the truth, that is the reality, and it's time to awaken to that ultimate truth. Okay, you guys, so take care of yourselves. So much love. Big hugs. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.